Hello again. This is going to be the second video in the series of recovering boat seats. I've already done the first one on disassembly. I will put the link in the description if you're wanting to watch that. A couple of things. I would like to say thank you for all the feedback that I've been getting in doing these videos. This process is new to me, and thank you for all the feedback. Next thing is that I did a video a couple of days ago on the dual blade foam saws, and the video for the giveaway for this Sailrite blade foam saw is up. I'll put the link in the description showing you how to enter and to win this. As far as the templating process to make the new panels to sew them together to make the cover, some people cut these covers apart and they use the old covers to make templates for the new ones. I don't do that. The main reason is for sometimes these old foams, the foam on the boat seats can be deformed over time and they may not fluff out after steaming to their original shape. These covers were designed when the foam was brand new, and if the foam is a different size and we make the cover the original size, it can be too loose in some areas. So generally what I like to do is I like to pattern the foam to make sure I get a good fit to begin with. These are the supplies that I will be using. This is a Durascrim fabric. It's available from the Sailrite website. I have a 60-inch fabric ruler. I have 2-inch T needles, and I have some paper and pencil to make notes, and then a Sharpie of some kind. I will put links in the description for all of these. I'm going to go ahead and bring you in a little closer to show you the process as I'm doing it. Okay, the first thing we want to do is get some of this fabric, and we're going to do a rough cut to make sure we have enough to fit over this piece. We're going to go ahead and lay this on the top, and we're going to do some pins, and we're going to pin this in place. You want to make sure that obviously the fabric is laying flat. You don't want it to be stretched too tight. And then we're going to take a Sharpie and we're going to draw around the top edge of this. We do want to make some alignment marks into this so that way when the other piece comes here, that we know which is center when we're sewing the two pieces together. So I've made some marks on the foam here for center, and then on this one here for center. So we need to make sure that we put those marks on this plastic as we're templating it. Now this is a process that you really want to take your time at, because the better the pattern, the better your end result's going to be. There's a chance that you can cut the fabric wrong, but if you cut the pattern wrong, you will always cut the fabric wrong. So take your time on this and get a good pattern for it. And I'm drawing right around the edges. I'm not putting any seam allowances in the pattern. I'm going to put that in when I cut the fabric out. Okay, so now that I've drawn around the edges, I want to make sure that I have any alignment marks that I need to put in. And we want to make some notes on the top of this. This is obviously the white part of it, so I'm going to put white. So when I put this in my pile of templates to cut out the white fabric, I have everything together, and the gray fabric, I have everything together on that one. We also need to label which one's the top and the bottom of this, so that way I don't get this upside down when I'm cutting it. This one seems to be kind of about the same, but just in case, you know, sometimes you have some other pieces that are not the same top and bottom, so you want to make sure that you don't get them mixed up. And that's all for this piece here. So we'll take these pins out. Now, I need to get a piece for the boxing. This boxing is pretty simple. It's just a flat piece that comes down. I don't really need to template the outside of this. I can just take a measurement around here. So what we're going to do is take this tape measure. We'll go from one edge all the way to the other. That's 29.5, and we need seam allowances, so that's going to be 30.5. So we'll write that down. So the other dimension, we need to come down here and get a width dimension. And when this foam is sitting on top of the panel, this is going to be the piece that we're going to staple right here, and we need to have something to pull as we staple it. If I make this about 1 inch long underneath here, that's going to be very cumbersome to pull that and to staple that and get a nice stretch on the fabric. So what I like to add is 3 inches after the bottom of the plate. That gives me enough. If you want to add a little bit more, don't be afraid to do that. You can always cut off the extra, but you can't add more at that stage. So don't forget, we need a 1/2 inch seam allowance at the top. So I'm going to set my tape measure to a 1/2 inch on the top. And down here, I'm at 3 3/4, and I'm going to add 3 inches. So that's going to be 6 3/4. So that gives me my boxing. Now we're going to make a template for the smaller one. And again, when I have this up, this foam, these are the same thickness, so I can use the same dimension of the width on this at 6 3/4. So on this piece, I just need to go a dimension around out here. So this one is 42 3/4. Add 1 inch for seam allowance, so that's going to be 43 3/4. So on my notes, I'm going to make sure that I put, this is in the gray, and this one is in the boxing for the white, to make sure I don't get those mixed up. Okay, so we'll take this and we'll pin this down again. Put as many pins as you need to get this fabric flat. Don't be afraid to put a bunch of pins in here. You don't want this to move. Now there are some other seats that, mainly on pontoons, where this bolster piece is a little bit higher. I'm not going over that procedure right now. When I get one of those seats in, I will go over that templating process at that time. Okay, and again, we want to transfer any alignment marks that we have in this. We want to label this. This side is the top, and this is going to be the gray. Okay. And the last piece that we have to get a measurement for is the pull in the center for the floating seam. This cover did have a floating seam between the two of them. And I see a lot of people struggle with these, and honestly I did too in the beginning. And that's mainly when I was struggling in the stapling part of it on how far to get that seam and to make sure it was even across the two pieces of foam, to make sure, you know, that this side wasn't pulled down and this side was too loose, and, you know, it have kind of like a wavy effect. So somebody else showed me this, and it's very simple to do. We're going to take a dimension this way that goes across, and that's 26.5 inches. we're going to minus 2 inches on that one. And the reasoning why, when this piece for the pull comes over here, I don't want it to come all the way and start getting in the way of the seam when I'm sewing it together. I want it to end somewhere in this area and somewhere over here. So, at 26.5 inches, we're going to come down to 24.5. And this is where the trick is. You get the width of the foam, and this stuff used to be 3 inches. It's just underneath right now. And we're going to add 1/2 inch. So the piece that we're going to cut is only going to be 3.5 inches wide. And I'll show you what we do with that in the sewing stage. This will complete the templating process. The next video will be on cutting the fabric. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks again.